First of all, introducing our challenger.
Out of the blue corner.
He's going to step in and he does. It's all over.
Let's bring on the boom.
This is Eternal MMA.
Mixed martial arts fans, welcome back. This is Eternal Insiders, and this is the former two-time Muay Thai champ. Crossed over to MMA, set to make his third walk as a mixed martial arts professional this weekend when he takes on Emil Jeries at Eternal 77 on the Gold Coast. Talking, of course, about Ben Johnston. He's joining me right here, right now. Ben, thanks for joining me, brother, on the show for the very first time. So last week leading up to the fight, man, how is everything going in terms of your preparation, mind and body leading to this fight this weekend for you?
Yeah, no, I'm going good, man. I'm pretty happy with how it's all sort of come, and sort of worked out in terms of timing and everything. I had, like at the very beginning of camp, a couple of little niggles, and they're always playing your mind a little bit in the very beginning. But no, man, it's come good now. I'm feeling great.
I mean, it's got to be pretty rare going in any sort of fight camp, be it martial art, mixed martial arts, or be it kickboxing, Muay Thai, that you're pretty niggle free. It doesn't really happen that often, right?
Almost never, bro. I have had a bad run the last 12 months, though. Just had one thing after another. But no, it's been quite good.
So a bit of a bad run, but can we safely say that, we got some niggles, but major injuries and that sort of thing at least out of the way?
No, that's right. Like when I put on Eternal last time, I did my MCL, and then I'd had just trying to get back into a fight after that, because that put me out for a couple of months. Probably almost the rest of the year. And then just trying to get back in, I ruptured my eardrum, and then I did my disc in my lower back, and it's just one thing after another. And it sort of gets you down. You know what I mean? You're trying to make something happen, and injury after injury. But I've just been lucky that as it's come closer to the fight, just feeling great, and everything's loose, and I've really timed it well.
No, we'd like to hear that, man, because a lot of people are looking forward to this fight. So as long as the big ones are behind us and we're just sort of coming with a couple of niggles, we'll take that for a Ben Johnston fight. So we're very excited to see this one coming up. Now, as we mentioned at the top of the show, you're a former two-time Muay Thai champion. A lot of people sort of asking, why professional MMA now? Obviously, you had a very successful run as a kickboxer, as a competitive mixed martial artist. You're coming in now to your third professional MMA fight. Was this a natural transition for you? Why mixed martial arts now at this point in your career?
Then why not, eh? I've done what I wanted to do in the Muay Thai. And I'm 33 later this year. So it sort of doesn't, if I was to leave it any longer and I just kept doing Muay Thai, I don't know, another couple of years, I really wouldn't have much time to do something else and do it well. So why not, bro? While I have the opportunity, while I have the time, and while I'm feeling the motivation, I might as well. I was looking at boxing at one point when I first finished up Muay Thai. I was thinking about, all right, I might have a crack at the pro boxing. I'd had a couple of amateur fights in the boxing. It's just something about it, but I can't really put my finger on it, but something about it just didn't really excite me. And I was doing, some grappling to stay busy. I've been doing grappling on and off for a long time. But I was just doing it to stay busy because I had no Muay Thai fights coming up. And then I thought, you know what, let's just have a crack. Let's just put it all together and just see what happens. I'm not too old, and I feel, feeling pretty good. Let's just go in and see what comes up.
No, we're glad to have you here in MMA, man. I mean, the MMA world's booming. You sort of say what you want about boxing, but we know how big the UFC is sort of rolling everything right now, and the reverberating effect that's having across a lot of the countries, especially like here in Australia. So big things happening in MMA, and you're one of those things happening in the regional scene in a big way too. So you mentioned just there before that you have actually been grappling a long time. Obviously, you've had that massive run with your Muay Thai and your kickboxing, that sort of thing. Have you been training like genuine mixed martial arts for many years?
No, so I had done jiu-jitsu. I don't know if you remember, bro, but like in the early days of MMA, it was it was like, oh yeah, you do your striking and your jiu-jitsu, you know, especially in Australia. And then if you were doing Muay Thai and jiu-jitsu, you're ready for MMA, and that's kind of what it was, right? And people did get away with that, but now just like the level has changed so much. You know, the guys aren't sort of playing that game anymore. Even just like the stance and distancing and just your weight distribution of the striking, like Muay Thai is a whole nother sport. Muay Thai striking is like a whole nother sport to MMA. So figuring that out was definitely something I had to play with. And then the jiu-jitsu, you know, if you play a jiu-jitsu game in MMA, it doesn't quite work as well. There's some things that work really well, you know. So it's like when I first started, bro, when I first went to City Kickboxing as a purple belt, I was just getting in the sparring, MMA sparring, I was just getting smashed, you know. It was a few years ago now. I was getting smashed, and I was like, oh no, I don't know if I'm, you know, I've gone, yeah, I'm going to have crack in MMA. I've gone, oh man, I'm not cut out for this, you know. And then I just sort of ended up taking it as feedback and going, okay, well, I've got to change this and change this tactic and do that. And then now, actually, I'm finding my jiu-jitsu does work, you know. But it was that process of eliminating a big portion of it and then honing in on another portion of it to say, okay, this is going to work in this position, and this one I can just abandon that. That's not a thing, you know. Seated open guard is no longer a thing. It just doesn't exist in, you know what I mean, in MMA. But that's kind of like what I was learning in jiu-jitsu, just because I wasn't aware. And then now, like, obviously, bro, just with trial and error and sparring and testing, and, you know, even big takeaways from some MMA fights that I've had, you know, you sort of come up with a much more sturdy product of which part of jiu-jitsu is applicable.
Well, I mean, the part that was applicable actually got you sort of your first win, of course. You had that win against Khan Sandy by the rear naked choke. So a lot of things paying off for you there early for your first win, man. I mean, you're putting it all together as a mixed martial artist. We've already got the striking side of things down. Of course, with the kickboxing and everything, we've already got that rounded out. So to see those things come together for you is fantastic. Now, you mentioned before too, training at City Kickboxing. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, you own the Fight Centre in Brisbane. That's your gym.
Yeah, that's right, bro.
Yep.
Yeah, that's mine and best mate Jarvie. It's our gym.
How does that how does that dynamic work then? So you're training sort of out of there. I know in your last fight camp you were down there with the City Kickboxing boys and everything, getting reps in for them. Can only speculate as to how valuable that is for you. What's the dynamic like this time around? Are you still getting back into the gym with those guys? You're splitting time between the two gyms. What's it sort of like in the lead up for this fight in terms of that dynamic?
Yeah, I spent earlier on in the camp, I spent a little bit of time over there. And then now just, bro, with running the gym, it is hard. Like,
no doubt.
I've got a big commitment here. You know, I've got running my boxing team, my Muay Thai team, my jiu-jitsu team, and my MMA team. You know, I do have help. You know, I have some really good guys that help. Like Nakia, he helps me with my jiu-jitsu. And yeah, those are important and allow me. He also helps with the MMA, so I can go away here and there. But it is quite hard to go away for a long period of time. I did go over for would have been 6 weeks, I think. I was over helping Israel get ready for Pereira. And that was pretty hard to just like up and leave, but it was, you know, man, it's just too good of an opportunity not to. You know, that was like one of the greatest fights in history, and to be just a little bit a part of that, and seeing some cool things that happen there is like, you know, bit of a sacrifice back here with the gym, but you know, you make it work in order to get something like that across the line. You know? But no, I don't. I haven't been there for the whole camp. I go over there for like a week or two at a time, and then I got good guys here too. You know, like Diego Pereira. He's over here with me training every day. Nick Kepu, he's here with me every day. You know, Chelsea Hackett comes down and trains with us too. And even though she's a lot smaller, she's bloody good. You know. But there's a good crew of guys that, you know, help me along. So it's not the end of the world that I can't get over there as much as I'd like, because I do have good guys here. But when you go over, man, it's just you're always getting heaps out of it. They're such a high level of striking, even their full MMA game. they don't get credit enough with the stuff they jump around to.
Well, I mean, I think just on that, I mean, they don't get enough credit, but I mean, the credit they do get given, I mean, is pretty sky high. I mean, they did get named the best gym in the world for what was it, 2021 or 2022 or something like that. So if you be able to split your time between your own gym, get over there and get some looks in, obviously you mentioned you got Diego Pereira here. I mean, one of the most popular guys we have on the circuit for Eternal MMA. The guys like Nick Kepu, I actually think he was dealing with something in hospital. I think I saw on your Instagram there before, but the guys you are looking at. Yeah.
Just had a little injury in his jiu-jitsu comparable things yesterday. And I also have my other coach, Dan Bell, who's my coach.
Sure.
When I first started, he's one of the smartest people I know. And he's always big help, even with the mindset sort of stuff that you said earlier. He gets me in the right frame of mind and gets you feeling confident. And he's just, like I said, one of the smartest guys I know. So it's always great being able to have him there and as a support.
So who's in your corner for this fight then?
So it'll be Eugene, Dan Bell, and then my best mate, Jarvie. He owns the gym with me, James Jarvie. So those three.
Sure, a bit of a dream team being put together, mate.
Absolutely, bro. Yeah.
Love it.
Absolutely.
What's it like working with Eugene? I mean, you always hear different stories of Eugene. I mean, he's just sort of like this quiet sort of storm of a bloke and that sort of thing. But I mean, we've seen him come on Eternal and host a few guys there, get in their corner, that sort of thing quite a few times. But I mean, to be able to get what you sort of get here from Dan, go over and sort of work with Eugene. I mean, what a well of experience to be able to draw from between those couple of guys. Yeah,
absolutely. Like, man, I'm just lucky. You know what I mean? Lucky that these guys are happy to give me a bit of their time, and that's honestly that's the word that just comes to mind. Lucky that I was able to be involved with Izzy's camp. Lucky they chose me. Just that these guys are happy to give me part of their time. It's not everyone gets that. Like I know a lot of people want to train with both of those coaches. And for them to allow me to, it's like, unreal.
Was this just on that? So you coming in and helping Izzy with his fight with Alex Pereira. I mean, was that something like, did you already have that? I mean, I guess you already had that established relationship with the City Kickboxing guys, with guys like Izzy, but did they sort of identify something in yourself in terms of, your style, your body and training against like a guy like Pereira? I know you'll always sort of try and bring in guys that can sort of mimic a guy like Pereira. Must be a bit of a testament to you in terms of your style and that sort of thing. They think, hey, let's get Ben Johnston in, let's get some reps in with him to train for one of the best kickboxers in the world in Alex Pereira.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, pretty cool. Massive compliment. But they have a lot of really good kickboxers over there, right? Like Navajo. Yeah, and the amount of guys that are at the right height. It's like you look at their middleweight and light heavyweight team, and all of those guys fit the bill that could do Pereira, impersonation, basically. But I think being that I'm of a more Muay Thai background, the range is what really stood out. I'm like, again, bro, I don't really know, but this is what I'm believing. Is that it's more like the range of me wanting to be a little bit closer, and that's what Pereira wanted to do as well. He wanted to be a little bit closer. That's sort of what, because those other guys would have to unlearn their habits that they have, I wouldn't. That's more natural to me. I'm sort of I've done this process of like going over there and training with them. I've sort of unlearned a lot of those habits as well. Of not being as close, being a little bit further back and all that sort of thing. But that would have been the key ingredient that made me a better, or an acceptable, I should say, guy to mimic Pereira.
No, absolutely, man. I'm obviously a lot of valuable advice or a valuable body that obviously he gave Izzy, because he came out with that massive win. A lot of things to celebrate there, of course, with all you guys in that gym. I mean, what an incredible win it was. So you guys must have been cooking something right down there. What a celebration that was. So very cool to see. But of course, lots of jobs for you to sort of get done in your own right. We move ahead. I just want to touch on, obviously, the start of your MMA career. You've had 2 fights now. The first one didn't go your way. You had that first loss to Caleb Rideout. You did get back on track, of course, in your next fight, though. But from that experience that you had making your professional debut against Caleb Rideout, we know what a beast Caleb is, but what were you sort of able to take away from that first fight, getting that sort of loss and being able to apply that going forward, because you came back in spectacular fashion to get the win the second time around?
Bro, like as much as you hate losing, as much as it's like you kind of put your whole value on getting your hand raised at the end of it, like you sort of realize it doesn't matter, like and just it is what it is. I got caught, I didn't. It's not like I gave up. It's not like I went out there and fought without integrity. I just got caught, bro. It's like, shit. Well, I guess there's not much I can do about it. So, and technically, I made a huge mistake of when he knocked me down. I immediately scrambled, like, and it's probably just, bro, I was for half dazed, just scrambled back straight away to my knees, and he just blasted me from behind, right? So that was a massive technical error that I made that I've closed that loop of like, well, I'm not going to do that again. And now that's like part of our sort of, if you want to call it a system of like what to do when you're on the ground on your back, of when you should be trying to scramble to get up and when you should be playing guard, kind of like what we were talking before about where jiu-jitsu works and where it doesn't. So there was a huge takeaway in that. But in terms of just like, learning and from the experience of losing my pro debut, especially, bro, I'm pretty happy with my Muay Thai career. I'm pretty happy with where I ended it, winning my WBC world title. It's like, that's great, and then having the pressure of that, go in, get the loss in like the first minute or something like that. It's like, oh, you know what? Like, well, that monkey's off my back in a way, I don't have that pressure anymore. I just go out and be free and go and have a good crack and just do whatever I can. And if I fall short, man, whatever, hey, like obviously I really want to win, but if I come up short and I give my best, and it is what it is,
100%, man. I mean, you certainly came out and gave your best a second time around because you got the win against Khan Sandy at Eternal 67, pardon me. I mean, it was a great fight for as long as it lasted. Really sort of good back and forward, a lot of kickboxing exchanges, a lot of sort of scrambles against the cage and that sort of thing. And then to everyone's surprise, you come out with the win with the rear naked choke, which you almost got in the first round. Tanira Nathan Cage side was very animated in that sort of end of the first round. He was like, oh, how about that if we had got the win by rear naked choke? And you gave him what he sort of wanted in that second round. You did come away with that rear naked choke win. Was there any part of in your mind leading into that fight that might have been a way you wanted to get it done, just to show that this is an evolved part of your game? As you said at the end of the fight, not a kickboxer anymore, you're a mixed martial artist. Like, was it just that bit sweet of getting the job done by submission?
Yeah, it was. I don't think I planned to. I didn't really plan to wrestle or plan to, because I didn't know. Like, there wasn't a lot of footage or I hadn't seen much on Khan Sandy, so I didn't really know how to prepare for him. I wasn't sure what he was going to do. I just assumed that me being a kickboxer, he's going to try and take me down. So I sort of had worked around that. And I didn't know how good he was going to be on the ground or how good his wrestling was going to be or whatever. But I was prepared for that. So when when I was able to get him down, man, I'm pretty good on the ground, like, yeah, if I'm on top of someone, it's pretty hard to get me off, so I don't mind being down there. So when it happened, I was like, oh, I'll just stay here. Let's see what happens. No need to rush to get up. I'm pretty comfortable down here. So yeah, when the opportunity popped up and I was punching, and that second when I got the choke, I was punching and I'm like, kind of hurting my hands, to be honest. So I'll just choke him. I don't want to like break my hand and then I'm out. Turns out I tore my MCL anyway, but I didn't want to like damage my hands. Like, I'll get the choke. I'll get the choke for sure. So I might as well take that,
And it looked good, man. I mean, you sunk it right in there. I mean, it was game over. It looked like you've been doing this game for years, man. It sort of looked that good. I mean, it got the crowd animated, got the commentary booth absolutely animated, sort of sitting cage side. So very, very, very cool to see. I mean, I think if you weren't going to get the win by knockout or anything like that, as a Muay Thai style fighter to come in and sort of do that job the way you did it, really cool. And it sort of sets you on a very good path, for whatever you want to do next in mixed martial arts. But we look ahead to Emil Jeries, as you said, for your last fight with Khan Sandy. Not a lot out on him in terms of mixed martial arts. Probably not a ton out on Emil Jeries himself, 1-0 fighter. But, I mean, is there anything sort of out on him? Can you look at him as an opponent and sort of speculate what this matchup might bring and how you stack up against him as an opponent for this fight coming up at Eternal 77?
Look, I assume he's going to want to try and take me down at some point. Probably. I'm assuming every round he's going to want to try and get it to the ground. But if he doesn't, that's also great. It's whatever. If it goes down, I'm cool with that. If it stays standing, I'm cool with that. I think he's a pretty well all-rounded guy from what I can tell. Like I said, I've watched heaps. I watched his most recent fight against Samad. I apologise if I said that name wrong. So yeah, that gives me a little bit of something to go by, and it's always hard to tell because guys progress from every fight. So there's stuff that he would have done in that fight that was his foundation for the next one, and then this fight will be the foundation for the next one. Guys are always leveling up, and it happens so quick in this game, especially like you see the guys at the top level it's just people coming out the woodworks. Like, I've never heard of this guy, and he's a weapon. And it's just showing like the overall skill set of all MMA fighters now is like exponentially growing. So I can't just judge him on that fight and go, all right, well that's what he does and that's who he is. Of course, he's got some other tricks and learned some other techniques and other strategies since then. But that's all good, man. I'm ready for whatever. It's all good.
Let's go. We're very excited for it. I've only got a couple more questions for you, man. But second last thing I do want to ask you, you're a couple of fights into your pro MMA career. We don't want to get too far ahead of this fight, but I mean, do you have like a path mapped out in your mind, like where you'd sort of like to take this? Is the sole focus for you now MMA going forward? Have we completely put the Muay Thai career behind us? Is the kickboxing side of things done? Are you open to sort of see what comes next, no matter what the combat sports, or are we looking at taking this MMA thing as far as we can go?
No, I'm not kickboxing again. I highly doubt I'll box either. Unless I finish the MMA career and decide to run a boxing then, but I can't see it happening, bro. Obviously the plan is to just stick with this and just see what I can do. Just keep winning, man. That's my priority. I don't want to think too far ahead. Obviously, bro, everyone who's a pro MMA fighter has the exact same goal. They all want to be in the UFC or PFL or Bellator or One or just one of those massive, companies. I'm sorry if that wind is noisy, bro. I'm just outside. But yeah, everyone's got the same goal, and that's obviously mine too. But I just got to focus on what's in my own backyard and get some wins over here first. And once you get a ball rolling on that, then we'll look at what's overseas.
Let's keep the ball rolling and see what comes next. So facing Emil Jeries at Eternal 77, July 1st on the Gold Coast in the co-main event. Absolutely can't wait for it. It's going to be an absolute cracker of a fight, man. I don't know if you're necessarily the guy to give out any predictions in terms of the fight. If not, is there a preferred method of victory or anything like that? Do you see a particular sort of way?
No, I don't. I just see what comes up, bro. I had a lot of finishes when I was in Muay Thai, and I did not plan for any of. I wasn't like, I'm going to go knock this guy with a right hand or a left hook or a leg.
It just happens. It just comes.
Yeah. Be ready to go for the whole 5, or in this case 3. Be ready to go for the 15 minutes, and if something comes up before then, jump on it.
Let's go. Well, let's see what happens, man. We like we said, we can't absolutely wait for this one. It's going to be an absolute firecracker, no doubt. Hopefully for yourself, it's not a firecracker, because I'm sure you'd like to get the job done early if that's what it is, but I'm sure you're prepared for all 3 rounds. So let's see how it plays out. Thank you very much for coming on the show, man, for the first time. Absolute pleasure to have you on, and look forward to having you on again someday soon. All the best this weekend. Hopefully for yourself, you get your hand raised, and we'll see what comes, brother. Thank you for coming on.
Awesome. Thank you, Luke.
You're the man, Ben. Thank you.